Coucou! Hey, how's it going everyone? The name is Lizardino and I'm your favorite Fakemon artist for Southern France. It's cool to see you again this soon. And today, we're gonna put Oxita on a huge hiatus to tackle a much more standard Fakemon video format. Do not worry, I'm not abandoning my pet project that led me down the path of Fakemon content. Rather, I'm revamping the heck out of it and turn my lovely province of Fakemon region into a more polished and unique monster collection project that better reflects what I initially envisioned. Expect this to take a while before you get to see its new code. But in return, I'm gonna be more active on YouTube through more standard Fakemon content, which means you get to see me out of my comfort zone more often. Eh oui, I'm gonna start my trip as a proper Fakemon YouTube channel and take a stab at spreading my art while keeping what makes me... Bah moi. Just cause my video will be English for in and out doesn't mean you won't hear me speak French. Au contraire, je vais pas vous lâcher. Oh, vous allez en bouffer. Hein. And we're gonna start this new milestone of my YouTube life with turning a niche IP that no one, and I mean absolutely no one, tried their hands at it. Not even Fakemon Forever 2 or STERNINATOR pulled that out, and these two have done countless IPs in the past. Then, what is that fancy franchise when I turn into Pokémons? Well, there's one way to find out. Tap! Je suis une marque de jouets par Technis, une des variantes de la film danoise Lego. Oui?
Ninjago?
C'est non.
Is it Mixels?
Ah, malheureusement, c'est pas ça. Tap! Je suis sorti en 2001 et qui a duré jusqu'à 2010 pour ensuite avoir un reboot de 2015 à 2016. Mon but est de construire des personnages robotisés que l'on pouvait combiner et démanteler comme les prédécesseurs Slicer et Robo Riders.
Robo Riders.
Grim? Est-ce que vous cherchez la merde?
Slicer.
Encore une réponse comme ça et je vous pète les rotules. Tap, mon nom est l'abréviation de Biological Chronicles et raconte une histoire inspirée de la culture polynésienne où ces guerriers élémentaires doivent réveiller l'esprit de Madame Nui et sauver leur monde de Makota. Je suis...
Bionicle! Bionicle!
Oh oui! Hell yeah! We're about to dive into the edgiest Lego toy you ever heard about. One that is still active to this day after it saved Lego for bankruptcy. Well, by technicality, being the fandom of course. And I played with those as a kid way before I bumped into those long ass lore videos on YouTube. How long are we talking about? Bah, the oldest one is a combo of 13 videos, which lasted for about 9 hours and 20 minutes. Then another one broke the record and extended it to 13 hours. Combined with the absurd lore about key concepts like the Cold Wars, Gano E-Mask, Metro Nui, Grand Plan, and you get lost pretty easily. Like a wise Frenchman said, c'est un bordel. For the sake of simplicity, we're gonna stick to the first set that started it all. I think it's best for our sanity. Unless you wanna see me all set as Pokémon and see me suffer. But not today. Je vais pas rigoler quand tu vas avec le reste. Before we begin this mad task, feel free to subscribe, activate the funny bell, and even join my Discord if you like my craft. Trust me, I am for France, where the gods are cooking. So gather around and listen to the legend of the Bionicle. See, giving separate whole lines to each colored Bionicle would be 1, too freaking long, and 2, a nightmare to pull out. We're still trying to create a Pokemon line after all. We've got the Toas, aka the main protagonist, which we'll tackle later on, the Rakshi, aka the evil counterparts controlled by the big bad evil guy, and the Matoran, the little guys that makes up 99% of the sentient Bionicle population. These dwarf Bionicles are the one I drew first because they are eligible to become Toas after wearing the sacred Kano E-Mask, which in turn was the perfect setup to make a still heavy-like Fakemon. I'm warning you in advance, I had to heavily boil down the lore. If we picked it as it is, this video would take too long to edit, and I already left you for almost 6 months. Heck, I'll be dead before this will come out.
Infantoa, the Chronicle Pokemon. It lives in whole colonies, tending to each other's and stand against threats. Despite its large claws, it's able to execute delicate tasks and hold items twice its weight.
You can thank those crab claws like hands or Matoran, and by extension, Lego characters help, because that's how I managed to turn a bunch of organic robots into EV's steel cousin. This gave me the funky idea to look up meaty claws of all calibers on the internet and tweak them into the associated weapon. Feel free to keep a meaty claws counter somewhere and tell me how many I have, because chances are it won't fit the two opposite. Also, what are those huge two-toed feet? I mean, thanks, that helped me turning the whole line into a legit Fakemon line. But still, what are those? Plus, these Matorans for the very first set are so tiny! Tiny enough to fit into your whole palm, for God's sake! Non mais regardez-moi ça! Rikiki! Rikiki! Great warriors with great power, drawn from the very elements themselves. Together, they were 6 heroes, with only one destiny. This is the basic of every Bionicle set, both in lore and marketing. Each year, the Bionicle set will always be presented by 6 main Bionicles, which would unravel this batched crazy lore that is the Great Plan. And there's no better way to start but with Toa Tapu, the Toa of Fire. As expected of this element, is fierce, brave, stubborn, short-tempered, blah 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 blah, vous avez capté que c'est le leader. And because he's the leader, he gets a fire sword, which turns into a meaty great sword claw of fire. Neat, right?
Blaze Toa, the Torch Pokemon. Its large left sword claw is actually lighter than it looks, allowing it to swing it with grace and power in combat or surf across lava streams. Scientists are still wondering on the right arm's purpose beyond holding and picking to this day.
Yes! Those arms are elastic, and it's one of the few shortcuts I took to make these Fakemon lines more believable. The Bionicle lore officially states these are organic species, and yet they're built like a robot-like species. If I kept going with the original configuration, this would clash with Pokemon's design philosophy. Even the future Paradox Pokemon, which are first stated as robots via the Enigmas of Baldia, still keeps the overall semi-rounded, organic composition in their creation. But in return, you can teach it surf and go around volcanoes. It is cool, huh? Now's the time to turn the deputy leader and de facto lone wolf for the bunch into GuardianSoul cousin. Toako Paka was surprisingly the one I liked the least to draw. Not that I hate the design per se, no. It came right after Tapu when I was still figuring out the common traits of this line and how to make each evolution stand out without disconnecting it for Infantoa. Plus I had a hard time implementing the vertical splinter cell looking 3 eyes, which I couldn't remove since that's related to X-Ray, is the power of his canoeing mask. Thankfully, his sword and shield was a blast to turn into a pair of unique claws.
Frostoa, the stalwart Pokemon. It has been known to disobey its trainer's commands even after years living together, although never out of rebellion's sake. However, no one can deny this Pokemon loyalty to those whose lives are at stake.
Funnily enough, I didn't know about his personality in detail until I was writing the script. I had a hunch of each Bionicle's personality by looking at the design alone, but not the full picture. Then again, I watched those long-ass lore videos a while back, and I couldn't afford to redo the whole experience all over again while re-rendering them. Dividing your focus between two tasks is harder than it looks, even with a lore video as background sound. And on to Gali, the Toa Water we go! Not much can be said personality-wise, aside from being the girl who always diffuses the tension between ice and fire. A trait I technically remove by giving it the usual Toa chest, and in turn, keeping the unknown gender status quo in steel types. Design-wise is where it gets to shine. While its power is to dive underwater indefinitely. This gave me much wiggle room to expand upon the common traits with better confidence. Toa's Gallis hook-like claws in the first set was the perfect excuse to give it tentacle-like limbs.
Scuba Toa, the diver Pokemon. Its monkey pants is there at the very bottom of the sea, where it can safely gather its sustenance without a fuss. It has the habit of blending within water to stack would-be troublemakers to its turf.
You have no idea how lucky I was upon snatching the mythic claws feature from the Matorans. It greatly helped me in assimilating the Tuamatas and Tuanua's weapon into their limbs. From Tapu's Great Souls to Kopaka's Sword and Shields, crab claws are, dare I say, very handy. Yes, I lied about sticking to the very first sets, but for my defense, the Nuvas is Team Tuamata after they dip in magic liquid mercury called Protodermis. No, I'm not joking, and I wish I was. And we're halfway through this Bionicle mess. Let's tackle Toalewi, the Toal Jungle, which I turned for a border of things. First of all, I did not fuse Exas and Dual Blade into green Radar Blade wings for funsies. Toalewi has been canonically gifted with the power of flight, despite living in jungle, and the liberty to stretch the limits of this Pokemon line. By Pokemon logic, this should land him as the grass flying, but no! Bionicle color logic doesn't work like that. Green equal wins in their world, and yet this guy who follows this element living in jungle. Go figure.
Wing Toa, the gliding Pokemon. Its wing naturally produces a bubble of air, allowing it to fly in almost every terrain. Despite its strong free will, it's often the unfortunate victim of a psychic Pokemon's mind control.
Luckily, Bionicle isn't the first to associate green with the air element. Turns out it's one of many fiction who used green to represent the wind, all stemming from Frisian representation. At least, if we stick to this fancy video, of course. That's the only reason I doubled down on the bird appearance in the first place. Fun fact, someone mentioned Bionicle in the video comments, and Hubble Mod Games, the guy who made said theory video, was surprised to find out it went this far. When I looked at Toapo Hatu, I was partially dreading how to properly translate his design because of his damn feet. Don't worry, nothing to do with the sketchy and weird Sonic art you bump into at 3 AM on the internet. It's because the guys at LEGO gave him shoes for weapons. I repeat, they gave him shoes for weapons. But thank God I remember Poatu was the fastest of the bunch. I kept the digit great legs from the Infantoa and then defeated Wolf to faster launch. And from kicking. You don't want to be kicked by a horse hooves.
Stone Toa, the speedster Pokemon. It forges its bond with its skin and trains via playing ball games and pranks. It's the fastest Pokemon known to man, able to reach max speed in 5 seconds with only its leg.
One thing you've noticed about all of them are their masks. Not only did I try to keep the original Kahui mask for the first set, but also gave them a spoonful of the Nuva sets to keep them grounded. Remember, these guys are meant to represent Infatoa after he used one of the evolution stone. Firestone equals Blast Toa, Ice Stone equals Frost Toa, Water Stone equals Scuba Toa, Leaf Stone equals Wing Toa, which only makes sense because the Air Bionicle is always linked to jungles. Sunstone equals Stone Toa due to our power to Matorans live in the desert. And lastly, Dusk Stone will turn Infatoa into the last of the Bionicle's Fakemon, which we'll get into now. Normally, this is when you see my spin paint while I'm explaining my thinking process for the design. Except I'm doing goof on that one. J'ai merdé sévère. See, before each design planned for video, I must go to File, Timelapse, record the timelapse, and confirm to make sure it properly records. Then, while I'm cooking, Clip Studio Paint gets to save every move I do. Once I'm done, I'll go back to timelapse and export this bad boy to an MP4 file with the right duration I can safely drag into my editing software. This is usually how it goes. The thing is, the spin paint data won't be saved should you shut down Clip Studio Paint, even if for a few minutes and regardless of file time. meaning that all it takes to use that 3-4 hours beeping is your finger sliding a tad too much on the cue of your AZERTY keyboard while control saving you finish Fakemon and PAF! Gone into the void, never to be seen again. Thankfully, I took this lossy stride by showing my speed recording setup for you all, and the drawing itself is fine as Clip Studio Paint first registered my save before initiating the self-destruct. So here it is!
Holtoa, the Digger Pokemon. Its Pokemon rarely speaks and relies on the earth to share its thoughts or gets around beneath. Many trainers have done found where this fruit Pokemon solve an otherwise difficult task only psychic Pokemon can execute.
Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about the concept itself. Toa Onua were one of the easiest to come up with, thanks to his class and aside ground type within the Bionicle lore. And the choice for his looking Kanohi mask was surprisingly easy to implement, despite my initial wariness. Plus, his kind of background allowed me to turn the overall Toa body shape into the dummificest of them all. Something I haven't experimented until now. Et voilà! Here's my attempt at turning Bionicles into Pokemon. I hope you like what I've cooked, because you're going to see me create more Pokemon in the near future. I'm gonna try to become more active by way of standard videos, the commission with their updated price, and even live stream, where I will either drop future videos Fakemon or your commission, like the spooky Fakemon 2025 streams, which usually start between 8 PM and 8:30 PM European time as I posted this video. Also shout out to Arc Ages, Brush with Death, the STERNINATOR, and Curious Chaos for lending me their voices in this video. Feel free to drop by that channel and say hi from me. Thank you for sticking up to this point on my journey. It means so much to me. See you next time. Ciao tout le monde!